3, 2, 1, bam. Yo, welcome back. We got another week. Super happy to be back with y'all. The Say Something show is in full effect. I got my boy Mitch with me. As you can see, we're coming at it from a little bit of a new angle today. The angles may be shifting as we continue to work with the space. Things will continue to move and grow, as will everything else involved with this channel. So we have a wonderful agenda today. Like I said, we're going to do our traditional check-in, jump on that before we get into any of this wonderful sports stuff with y'all. But, I want to make sure you know that we have some brand new stuff on the agenda, including soccer today, which will have a big portion. And, your guys' favorite, we got a bunch of baseball, so Mitch's Corner will be on deck earlier than usual. So make sure you are ready for that. Before we get to it, though, Mitch, how you doing? Tell the people what's going on with you.
Hey, man. Doing good. Doing great. Gonna keep it nice and short. Ready to get this started. Ready to talk sports, man. We got a good agenda, so I'm ready to go, and I'm hyped and ready.
Yes, sir. I'm good, man. You know what I mean? Other than a little haircut incident, which I'm not going to snitch because that's the homie. We're not going to put nothing out there other than if you see it, you see it. If you don't, it's all good. I'm not going to act like you do. But, yeah, I'm ready to get to this sports. So, without further ado, we'll jump right into it. We're going to start with the NBA today.
Yes, sir.
Before we turn it over to Mitch for his wonderful baseball section. But we got Boston. Obviously, if you guys saw this, they went ahead and handled business.
Champions out here.
18th banner.
Oh, boy.
Celtics
out in Boston, the Southie. They're going crazy out there.
You know it. Some of some of the favorite fans, if you're from around that area, some of the least favored fans, if you're not from there. But truly, that is an organization with major prestige, dynasty,
huge fandom
aspect to it. Yeah, in terms of they've had multiple periods of times where they've been dynastic, as they say. So that kind of brings us into today. I mean, we can go over a little bit of what we saw in the series, which I think is appropriate.
Yeah.
So I'll let you jump into that first, and then letting them know that the next piece that we'll dive into is just, do we have a potential dynasty on the horizon? Right, go ahead and attack what actually happened in this series.
Man, this was a blowout. It was tough to see. It was damn near 20 points by halftime.
Oh, yeah.
This whole series, honestly, was probably not too good for the NBA as a whole. Great for the Celtics and that aspect that they got them as the champions, but the games were not entertaining. Like, I know a lot of people who usually tune in were just uninterested and off doing other things, which is unfortunate. But, yeah, it just seemed like nobody showed up for the Mavericks, man. You could tell in those last couple of games, Luka was looking just super distraught. Every time he would go to the hole and make a ridiculous pass to one of his guys wide open for three, they shoot it up, clank it,
big break,
go straight down for a fast break for the Celtics. They kick it out to like Al Horford or Derek White for a three, push, and you just see him go, when we miss, and then he's running back, and then they make it again for the Celtics. He's like, man, what can I do? I'm over here not averaging the double-digit assists that I usually do because you guys just aren't making any shots.
Right.
And so I think that also just attributes to the fact that the Boston Celtics were playing really good defense. I mean, they dedicated everything. It's not like they played very good on offense. I mean, they scored 107, 105, 106, 84 in the loss, and then 106 again in the final win.
Yep.
That's not a lot. That's not high scoring.
No.
That means that offense for the Mavs was really lacking. And not because of Luka, but because of everybody else. Even Kyrie shrunk terribly and admitted it.
Yep.
Admitted that the Boston crowd got to him. So that really let him down, and I feel like makes Luka look pretty bad at the end of the day after this loss, especially when he fouled out and stuff in the other game. Just doesn't look that good. But I thought that the Celtics as a whole just had a better game plan and knew what they were doing in this series, whereas the lights shine too bright for a lot of the Mavs players, and they really shrunk and pretty much just reverted and just relied on Luka to do everything. And when he couldn't, they gave it to Kyrie, and he just really didn't show up. So disappointing for the Mavs. Hopefully they can bounce back. They're going to have to make some moves, get some shooters out there for them. And then the Celtics, man, like you said, how we're moving on to, are they going to be a dynasty? I mean, they have a line or a roster that's going to be the same these next few years. A lot of guys under contract. So, and Jason Tatum not winning the Finals MVP and Jaylen Brown winning it, I'm sure he's going to want to come back and show the world and show the NBA that he can be a Finals MVP. So, yes, there's definitely potential, but at the end of the day, it's just one.
Yeah.
It's just one. So let's have them win a few more to see if they're going to call them a dynasty.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, this series was, I think it was just a really, really tough matchup for the Mavs. I think the interesting thing about this entire playoffs, for the most part, was it was just so matchup based.
Mhm.
It was very clear that different styles of ball were just dictating the way that these series went in total. And it was, of course, imagination is going to be what it is, but it was very hard pressed for people not to come to the conclusion that there were many other teams who, if they had advanced and matched up with different teams, just scenarios could have been much, much different.
Yeah.
And it does seem like one of the interesting things, the way it ends up playing out, is it seems like we ended up getting a lot of not very good matchups in terms of things that would make super competitive day in and day out ball.
Right.
Because what we saw in a lot of these series, which was very the same in this one, even though it was 4-1, was that even when the teams were in close series, every game was pretty much a blowout. Minus, I think we said this in the other episode, I think there was 2 series that we felt like stood out where it was like, okay, pretty much all 7 of those games felt like you guys were really going at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty rare for the playoffs. Like, I recall the 2015 Warriors having a very, very, smooth route, to getting to the championship.
Yeah.
2017, was even, pretty much,
Sweep 'em up.
pretty smooth. You know what I mean? But this would be right up there for Boston in terms of like one of the easier runs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I think when you look at that, and they just remind me of, some of those teams where it just requires them to be in a moment to play into it, and like I think you just saw that in this series where we just had never seen the real Celtics, and I think what we saw in this series is that they don't have to be, which was the scariest part about all of this, is that they never even showed up really offensively. And like the defense was stifling. I will say, like, even both ways, to keep it a buck, like Dallas was playing some great defense as well. This was one of the better defensive series that we've seen in a long time, even though there were blowouts, and you guys are going to look at these score lines and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. There was a lot of good defense played here. It just to me, there wasn't enough good offense.
The Mavs only scored over 100 in the game they won.
Exactly. And what's crazy is that ends up being the high scoring game pretty much in terms of points for a team. We're looking at 101.6 for Boston and 99.2 for Dallas in terms of points on the series. So this is like a early 2000s.
This is like a Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, this is nasty
Wallace,
ball.
Rip Hamilton, Chauncey, Tayshaun.
And I think that Dallas is not built to do that. Luckily, they got the pieces to where they could engage defensively. PJ, going to get Gafford, those were huge. But like, you look at a team like Boston, the way they're set up, it's just like they didn't even have Kristaps for real, and they're also very clearly, in my mind right now, the best perimeter defending team by a long shot. And again, when we talk about these matchups, that's when Dallas, I think, just falls into a category that was like, ooh, it's going to take a lot, for this to go in their favor, just based on the way that this roster is constructed. And out on the perimeter, they just are that good defensively that you ended up seeing it on Luka by the end, like you're talking about. The guy was just winded. The guy was just dead. I mean, by the end of game whatever 5 that was, he's in the corner. You know what I mean? He's just sitting there, and he knows, you're hearing Jaylen Brown in every single timeout mic'd up. If Luke is out there, I'm not letting him get the ball. He'll have to bring it up if he wants it. Other than that, he's not touching the ball. And you could just tell Luka didn't even have anything to give at that point. It was like he was just constricted. So I think that Dallas can learn a lot from this. I don't think Dallas is done by any means. I also think that, if I didn't bring up Kyrie in terms of how he did, that would be insane. But he was awful. But I think Dallas can easily continue to build around this. I think Derek Lively is going to get a lot better. And I think he fits what they're trying to do completely. And if they can kind of get a little more scoring punch behind those two guys, which I think would force them off of playing so individually a little bit, I think they could figure a little bit of some of this out. But the whole NBA is going to have to deal with Boston moving forward. And so in terms of dynasty, I think they have the best shot that we've seen since the Warriors to build a dynasty just based on this roster. I don't know how they have all these guys signed. I am, going to get a little more familiar with the payroll stuff and truly getting into those numbers so that when we discuss that stuff, I'm a little more familiar. It seems outrageous to me. I know that, all this luxury tax people are willing to just take on depending on your owner.
Warriors did it.
But but I don't even see the Warriors handing out the money that they're doing right now in terms of having Jason Tatum, super max, Jaylen Brown, super max, Drew Holiday's at pretty much, I think it was 20 mil or something like that. Kristaps is at like 25. Derek White's got to be at he's, I think, a steal, but even him's got to have a somewhat decent deal. I don't know where.
We had Steph, we had Clay, we had KD, we had Draymond. Those are all like $20 million contracts.
Well, no, at the time we were making our run, fucking Steph was under a 10. We had the best deal in the land because of that ankle. That's the only reason that any of that worked is that Steph was on that. We were having 2 MVP seasons with him, $10 million a year. I'm sure Clay was buying him dinner. By the way, there's got to be stories about that at some point when Clay was getting that contract, knowing Steph is over here chump changing it. In that world, chump changing it. He probably bought him a boat. But anyway, so I don't know. I think that they do have a shot, and I think also the East is so trash that, man, if you're sitting over there, you're like, these teams are going to have to really pump it up to even give us a shot.
And Luka, you're gonna have to play defense if you guys are gonna win anything.
Right,
they was blowing by you all day.
Definitely,
he was looking like Rudy Gobert out there on the 3-point line on defense.
For sure. And the thing with that is also I feel like they did themselves no favors in terms of how they were switching towards the end of that series, which I could go into a whole different thing about that, but there's the same thing with leaving Gobert on the island. I felt like that was you can coach away from that too. You know what I mean? But yeah, so the next subject that we got is a little more Bay-centric, which we all love as always. Shout out to Boston though, even though I hate them. It's we got to shout out when it's necessary.
Championship, man.
And I actually am happy for Jason Tatum. You know what I mean? That's the last thing that I will say. And Jaylen Brown, the former Cal Bear. Both of you guys, excuse me, I feel like it's deserved. However, I think I'm most happy that Jaylen Brown won the MVP because I don't feel like Jason Tatum deserved it, even though his numbers arguably are a little better minus the defense than Jaylen Brown. I just feel like if you're going to be that guy, we'll give you the shit, right? And we're not going to scrutinize you over completely not showing up. We're not going to, by default, give you the MVP too and get all this off of your back. So I'm good with that. I'm good with how the score got settled.
They'll be back.
Right. It'll all play out, and they definitely have a shot at being a dynasty. So we'll see. What should the Warriors do? The most recent dynasty, tough offseason. What do you think that we should do with our options? And, hearing that Clay might be out here testing this free agency.
It would be definitely sad to see Clay leave. It would be unfortunate. I don't know if he's willing to take the kind of price that we probably want to give him for what he provides to our team. There's probably other teams that he could be a starter for and actually help and contribute to and be more of a player involved in the team scheme if he goes somewhere else and actually get paid more. It's just tough with the value of player versus the value of dollars that may go with that player for the scheme that we have, especially with all the money issues that we're having with taxes. We kind of are trying to, seems like we're in a transition mode of kind of getting off those books and trying to figure out how we can get under the budget again.
At least one ring down.
Because we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think him unfollowing us is not that huge of a deal. I think it's
Nah.
just how it goes when you're trying to be a free agent. You're trying to show other teams, hey, you can come talk to me. It's no problem.
He archived it.
Yeah, he archived it. But I think we got to make some moves to get another solidified 3-and-D guy, and then like a solid 7-footer who could somewhat contribute on offense, but be the mainstay on the defense alongside Draymond. I think that's the biggest need for us, like a Caruso and Vucevic from the Bulls. Make a trade over there, maybe get some guys, maybe like a Jared Allen and like, I don't know, like Isaac Okoro or something, just somebody else to go with them. Just a Nicholas Claxton, somebody like that we can scoop up. Just somebody who can be a versatile player for us, bring some energy, especially on the defensive side of the ball where we definitely lack at all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big offseason. I think this is probably the biggest offseason that I can think of in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Clay, just getting that out the way, I mean, I think that Clay is just he's a stand-up guy. So I think that the way he's approaching free agency, just like Mitch is saying, I think it's just standard by default. Just everybody's approach is going to be that way when they're trying to make sure that at a minimum they're trying to, boost their value. So, they want to make themselves not seem like they're giving any short to anybody, It'd be sad to see him leave. I feel like the good fits that I've heard about for him would be like the Magic.
Yeah.
I could see him going over there and being real smooth. I've even heard the Thunder wanting to figure out a way to move Josh Giddey and sign Clay, which would be pretty crazy, I think, too, in terms of a fit.
Yeah, that'd be a great fit.
Yeah. And it would be like,
anybody who
removing Giddey too, like the actual swap of Clay for Giddey in that lineup is like seamless.
Anytime you can get somebody to score 17 to 20 points without dribbling the ball, you're gonna want him on your team because that's just another superstar that doesn't take it away from a guy who's more ball dominant.
Shooting 39% from the three at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a bad year.
You think of OKC, they could try and trade or get rid of Giddey and try and get a Paul George or something, but then it's like, well, that's another person who needs the ball in their hands. So will it work as well as somebody who's more of a system player?
Exactly. And Clay is a bona fide winner too in those moments. Who some of these teams who are like trying to get over that hump. And again, I'm not speaking any of this into existence. I'd like him to actually come back and figure out. I think that what it would take for him to come back would be for us to pull somebody big in. Like, I think if we do make a move and get a star or get one of these, burgeoning stars, that he would stay and he would figure out a way to make it work. But I think if he feels like we're going to be stagnant with the roster and cheap with him, then I think that, I would want him to go get his money at this point, especially coming back from the injury. And again, we've talked about it a bit, but like the fit might be better elsewhere at this point. I would want to see you back, and I actually could see you starting again at some point if you worked your way fully into that, even though you need to start coming off the bench first. But there might be a starting role in a couple other spots. I've even heard Philly's looking at him. Which
he could be their new Danny Green.
Yeah, and even that, and like a big upgrade on Danny too, where it's like he would be one of those like steroid Danny Greens that's like, instead of every 15 games, it's like I'll give it to you every 4, So, I think that we just need to target some more defensive help. I mean, I think that we always figure out how to find shooters. I think I always trust the Warriors and practicing with Steph. And I was about to say Clay, but, practicing with Steph and just the greatness that's been around that franchise in terms of shooting threes. I trust the feel. I trust, what's going to happen once you're in that building. So for me, I really want us to focus on defense, get some guys that we really feel like, man, that can lock in multiple positions.
Yeah.
And then, give me a little more size, give me a little more umph at the 5, so that even when we're playing small in terms of having Dre at the 5, let that be actually a difference, right? Like going from Kevon Looney to Dre. Yeah, Kevon Looney's 6'9", but he can't even jump.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's just the same height as Dre anyway. You know what I mean? And so, I love Trace Jackson Davis. I think that he'll have an amazing role with us. But again, he's like this 6'9", kind of super bouncy tweener, Larry Nance-ish. And I feel like we need one guy that's going to be, again, a defensive presence out of that 5, who's athletic and at a minimum is giving us those 6 fouls.
Mm-hmm.
And, people are, feeling the fact that, yeah, we got some more physicality.
I'll even take Andre Drummond at this point.
Oh, I would. Well, that's easily.
Jesus Christ.
Easily take Andre Drummond. Any of those kind of caliber players who are known to give you a real 10 minutes, sign me up. And we're known to even, from what I saw, we were good with big men.
Yeah.
Which is what made me mad of why we're like souring off it. Like, no disrespect to Kevin Looney. I love Kevin Looney, but like we're turning Kevin Looney even into a super productive dude. And I'm like, so look, man, we could work with you. So yeah, we need defense, wings. I would love to see a Caruso because we also need a backup point guard because we all know Chris Paul ain't coming back. And give me a big. Give me a big. All right, so that's the NBA. That's just another season in the book, man. 2023-2024 season out of there.
See you later.
Man, I can't say I liked it. I can't say it was, anything other than signing off because we have to. But again, seasons are seasons. We're gonna take the down and the up the same way. We're ready for the next one. So,
it's not like it's going to be no more NBA talk. I mean, you got the draft coming up.
Oh, no, it's tons of stuff.
You got the Olympics coming up. You got, Summer League coming up.
Tons of stuff. Basketball's not done. Basketball's not done by no means. There's
they stay in the line.
Oh, it's easy. It's easy money. But, yeah, this season was just a little weird, and I feel like, to all those injured stars, hopefully you guys get back because I feel like that's the theme of this year across all sports almost. Is like, yo, please, stars, just please, for these big tournaments, for these big games. We need you there. We love y'all. Y'all are what makes the sport good. Please stay healthy. So we're going to hand this off to Mitch. Mitch's Corner, as you guys all know, the best in baseball. We're going to let him take it over. He's got MLB and NCAA baseball fully covered. So, bam, go ahead and take it away.
Man, so we're going to go vegetables first, then dessert. Start on a sad note. Start getting happier and happier as we move on through this segment.
Veggies.
We got some rough stuff to talk about, man. Starting off with the Say Hey Kid. R.I.P. Willie Mays. San Francisco Giant legend, Hall of Famer. Love him. MLB guy. 2-time MVP. Rookie of the Year in 51. 1954 World Series champion. 12-time Gold Glove. Won a batting title. 2-time All-Star Game MVP. And just player of the year several times in the MLB. A real staple in the game. Absolute legend. Had a 301 average through his career. 660 home runs for his career and over 3,000 hits. One of the few guys in the MLB to ever do that. So shouts out to Willie Mays. Great player throughout his whole time. Really represented for the culture, man. Gonna miss him. Gonna be missing baseball. Everybody loved him. So shouts out to you to Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. R.I.P., man. Next, to some other bad news that we got. We got some big injuries, dude. Man, it's all bad right now.
Check your fantasy teams.
Just recently saw, before we started the podcast, Aaron Judge hitting the hand. Going to be out probably a few days as of right now. But he tried to come back in the game. Couldn't do it. Left the game, gonna get checked, gonna go get looked at by the doctors, get an update soon, but we hate to see it. Probably with the best, hottest hitter right now in baseball. Has been the best hitter in the game for the last few years.
Leads the league.
We need him. We can't be throwing that close inside. I know we want to get him out, but throw it that way. Don't throw it at the guy, all right? Yeah. Keep our stars in the game.
Please.
Next, we got two Dodgers hurt. Mookie. The boy Mookie Betts.
Another one of my fantasy starlets.
Why are you throwing it so close to him? Gets hit in the hand.
Broke his hand.
Fractured his left hand. Going to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Out of there.
Immediately went down once he got hit by a pitch. Terrible. Didn't look good.
Terrible.
Literally, the announcer who was calling the game was just like, no. Like, immediately, just everything turned bad for them. Mookie Betts going to be out. Going to be hurting your fantasy squad. Do a second base, shortstop, outfield eligible. Another huge star in the game. We now lost Acuna, Judge, and now Mookie Betts. And then on the pitching side, we got Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers, who is shoving.
Yeah.
He is down with a rotator cuff strain. He won't be throwing for at least a few weeks.
Right. And they thought it was almost going to be season ending.
They thought it might be season-ending injury, but they're hopeful that it's not going to be. They're optimistic, but we will see after checkups through the next couple of weeks. But yet again, another superstar player, hundreds of $millions spent on this man, out. But on a little bit of a happy note, we got my man Max Scherzer. Could be coming back at the end of the week, playing either Friday or Saturday for the Rangers. So that'll be a good comeback for pitchers. But, man, losing Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, and Aaron Judge that quickly, all within a couple of days, that's really rough, man. So hopefully they can all have speedy recoveries and come back strong for All-Star break and for moving forward. Just for a few guys who have been hot in the MLB, we'll bring some hitters to you. Right now, we got my man Royce Lewis and Carlos Correa for the Minnesota Twins have been raking back-to-back. Royce Lewis batting .359, 6 home runs, 11 runs, 10 RBIs. He's come strong off of injury. He's been out for most of the season, so it's nice to see him producing for them.
Big hitter,
and then too. Carlos Correa batting .444, 4 home runs, 12 runs, 15 RBIs over the last 2 weeks. He's been absolutely raking, smacking up the A's, unfortunately, over the last few games. Next, we got Jarren Duran for the Boston Red Sox. He's been batting .339, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs with 6 stolen bases. So whenever he gets on base, he's got the green light to go. Next, we got Cal alumni, Andrew Vaughn for the White Sox, the lowly last place White Sox, batting .364, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 12 runs. Another guy who's been struggling throughout the beginning of the season, so it's nice to see him on a hot streak. Last but not least, it's July. Is it July? No, it's June. It's June. And what does that mean? That means Kyle Schwarber hits home runs.
Bombs.
Right now.
Bombs.
.349, 5 home runs, 8 runs, 12 RBIs. Man's had a 2 home run game his last game. He's absolutely raking. That's what he does when it comes summertime. He rakes in Philadelphia. So it's happy to see him and these guys showing out while we got some big sluggers out there getting hurt, not playing right now. Now to the good stuff. We got College World Series. If you ain't watching, like I told you last week, you need to be watching. The first 4 opening round games all ended in the 9th or 10th inning on walk-off hits or exciting plays at the end of the game. So I'll just start off for you. I'll tell you about these 4 games, and then I'll let you know how it's progressed and who's going to be going into the Final Four of the College World Series and who has the potential to win it all. So game 1, we got our boys. Here we go. North Carolina versus Virginia. Tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 9th. North Carolina calls up pinch hitter Jackson Van de Break to start it off. Comes up. First one hits a double to start off the inning. He's doing his thing. Great job pinch hitting, coming in, doing your job.
Big moment.
What's up?
Big moment.
Big moment. Move paid off. Good job, coach. Next batter, we had Alex Madera. Drops down a sac bunt to move him over. We got 1 out, man on third. Next, we got Kobe Wilkerson. He fouls out on a 3-1 pitch. Could have walked. Could have had another man on base, but he fouls out. We got 2 outs now, man. And then next, we got Vance Honeycutt, the superstar player.
Okay.
Has been hitting bombs for North Carolina, a legend in North Carolina team for the North Carolina team.
Smooth.
Up at bat.
Smooth.
He was 0 for 4 for the game. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. Comes up, hits a line drive to left field, walks it off. UNC comes out 3-2 at the bottom of the 9th for a big win in game 1. It's very important. Nobody who has lost game 1 has won the College World Series yet so far. So North Carolina came in strong, had an exciting game, ended it after a good pitcher's duel, keeping it 2-2 the whole game. Next, we got Florida State versus Tennessee. This one was pretty wild and crazy. So Florida State had an early edge, 9-4 after a 6-run third inning. Big sticks in the third inning.
Bombing.
Tennessee pitchers stepped it up for the 5th and 6th inning, held FSU to no scores, and then added 3 more runs. So Florida State coming back, 9-7 game, or Florida State killing it even more, but Tennessee coming back, making it a 9-7 game. Next, We got Florida State coming in strong, adding some extra runs, making it 11-7. After the 8th inning, we had Tennessee scoring one more to make it close again, 11-8, going into the 9th inning. After an easy top of the ninth, Tennessee gets them out. UNC has to come play defense. Bottom of the ninth, up 11-8. First, we have Kavaris Tears leads off with a triple. Start the 9th inning off.
I've seen him too.
Yeah, he's been raking big time. Next up to bat, we had Dean Curley hits a sac fly ball to right field, scores a run, 11-9. We got him coming back now. Tennessee on a roll. Next up, Cannon Peebles. What a name right there.
That's baseball for you.
Comes in to pinch hit. Another one coming in strong. He gets a walk after working a full count. Comes up clutch. Now he got a pan on. Cal Stark comes up to the plate. Fouls out to the third baseman. 2 outs. Bottom of the ninth. We got 1 man on. Now we move to the top of the lineup. Christian Moore, after absolutely been killing it. Senior, leader in home runs for Tennessee all time. Coming up to the plate. 2 outs. Christian Moore has a tough full count at bat, about 8 or 9 pitches, ends up hitting the line drive to left field, gets a double. We're moving. We got men on second and third now. Next up, De La Salle alumni, Blake Burke comes up to bat.
Bay Area.
Comes up, boom, hit up the middle. 2 runs scored, tie it up. We got 11-11, game tied. Excitement happening, all with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Next, Billy Amick comes up to bat, hits a single to left field, walks it off. Blake Burke scores, come all the way back, score 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth, win the game 12-11. Tennessee, the number 1 seed in all of college baseball, gets the win, and that was the most exciting game of all. Nobody expecting them to come down, especially with 4 hits to come all the way back with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Game 3, Kentucky versus NC State. This was a low-scoring game. Game was 3-3 going into the ninth. After NC State scored 1 in the top of the ninth, Ryan Nichols leads off the bottom of the ninth, home run to left field to tie it up. We got a tie game, 3-3. After a quick 1-2-3 top of the 10th inning, we have Mitchell Daly coming up with 2 outs, bottom of the 10th, delivers a home run to walk it off. Home run to left field. Kentucky wins that game 4-3. Very exciting. Another walk-off winning game. Last but not least, we have Florida versus Texas A&M. Another low-scoring game. Real exciting top of the 9th inning. Holding the 3-2 lead, Florida with a man on first. Hits a shot to right field. Jace Lavalette, the star for Texas A&M, runs back, jumps up, robs the home run, gives it 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Next comes up Jack Caglione, walks after a 3-2 count. They weren't trying to throw to him. He's one of the best hitters in all of baseball, going to be a top pick. After that, next guy, Ashton Wilson, comes up. We'll take 3 on that one. Strikes him out to end the game, and that's how it ends. Texas A&M beating Florida 3-2 because of some great defense by Jace Lavalette, robbing a home run that would have put Florida ahead in the game. So those were your 4 exciting opening day games or opening round games. So far through Group 1, after these games that happened, UNC played Tennessee from the winner's bracket, and Tennessee won. So Tennessee is 2-0, going straight to the winner's bracket.
First time ever, I think I said.
Yep. Florida State then played Virginia and eliminated Virginia 7-3. And so FSU then went on to play North Carolina and beat them 9-5. So Tennessee will play Florida State in the Final Four. Tennessee just has to win 1 game to get to the finals, and Florida State will have to beat them twice if they want to make it to the finals. Group 2, we have Kentucky versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M won 5-1. Then we have Florida versus NC State. NC State eliminated by Florida, losing 5-4. So next game, we're going to have Kentucky versus Florida. The game was unfortunately postponed because of weather. So whoever wins from Florida versus Kentucky will play Texas A&M to see who goes to the final. And again, Texas A&M only has to win 1 time, and whoever wins this game between Kentucky and Florida will have to win twice to get to the finals. And that's your roundup right there. Like I said, if you're not watching college baseball right now, you're missing out. If you have anybody that you want us to talk about from the college world, anybody you're excited to see, who do you think's going to win it? Let us know in the comments, man. We like to talk to y'all. So that's the roundup for baseball. And it's back to you, Benny.
Man, that was hot, man. I appreciate that. That was going around the bases
go
quick,
man.
man.
I gotta get it all out.
Yeah. Turn 2 and all that. I heard a lot about the Kentucky team, of them being like a surprise this year or something.
Yeah, they could potentially. This is their first time going to the College World Series, so they're making a great push.
2 seed, baby. Mm-hmm. Rooting for them low key. That's tight. That was awesome. So, yeah, if you guys want to hear anything more about that, or you guys have any favorites, we can do a little more extensive on some of these players. If you guys have some players that you guys want us to profile too in college who may be draft picks as we approach the draft, no problem. Throw that down there. Mitch will handle all of that.
Yes, sir.
So next we got the Euros, soccer, a little football, whatever you want to call it. So, this is the biggest tournament other than the World Cup. And then we also have Copa America starting this upcoming week, which will be amazing in a couple days here, actually. But so far, we can talk about the Euros because we actually have a fair amount of games that have now happened. So games started on Friday. Okay. That was the 14th. We're now at Tuesday. I believe that would put us at the 18th. So 4 days in or so. And we have a pretty crazy kickoff to this, which was Germany versus Scotland. Was the first game. We have a lot of talent this year coming in. In general, this tournament is going to be stacked, and there's thankfully not a lot of injuries so far going into the tournament. That can always change. But Germany sure showed up. In the beginning, it was a little bit physical there. Scotland is known to just kind of sit back. They're very willing to just kind of play the counterattack. Unfortunately, they ended up getting a red card right before half. So in the 45th minute, yeah, and it's not like Germany wasn't winning, so I'm not saying like, you German fans, it made it seem like that's why we won. No, yes, we know you guys were already up, 3-0, but the reality is that the entire game at that point was like they didn't even really want to be there, and they were literally just playing to hope that the score didn't get any crazier. And really it was a backbreaker to give up a penalty right before half, to where I thought, it definitely was one, but to know, how hard, the game was at that point, and it felt like, 2-0 isn't insurmountable. But, man, that just put them away, and all the stars showed up. So you had Vert scoring the first one, who's their starlet, who's actually headed to Real Madrid as well.
Okay.
Cheaters. We have Musiala, who's the Bayern Munich starlet, very, very young. He scored in the 19th minute. These are great goals. You have Kai Havertz scoring the penalty in the 45th. And then you have Füllkrug, who's for the Dortmund striker, scoring in the 68th. He had a nice one, celebrated hilariously. And then you had Emre Can, actually, who is
the OG
FIFA, 13 guy. But he scored in the 93rd minute, and they advanced beyond that first match 5-1 easily. So they go ahead and sit at the top of their group to start it.
It's a nice goal differential to have right there.
Yeah, that's how you want it to be. The next day we had 3 games. So we had Hungary and Switzerland in the opening game. Swiss, they're always a team that they play very well together. They never have like super, super standout guys per se. I mean, they had Shaqiri for a minute, who I don't even know if he's still getting burned right now. I don't think so. Who?
Embolo
is like one of their bigger players right now. But even him is like, he's playing, on one of the semi-big teams in Germany. And he goes between that and like Austria.
Is that Christian Eriksen's team?
Yeah. Switzerland? No, he plays for Denmark.
Red and white.
Yeah, very similar. But like, so this game, Hungary actually has a couple stars, which is funny. I don't even want to try his name, but
you know who you are.
My Brody who plays for Liverpool, with the S. You know what I mean? When I get my Hungarian brethren in here, I'll have them pronounce that out. But it's long. I think it's Zabalazai is what I think it is. But I'll go ahead and get back to that.
Linguistic experts.
Now that I've jumped in and butchered it, if I did, I'll come back and get it right. But the game, really was, a pretty hard-fought game. At the end of the day, Swiss did exactly what they usually do, which is just control out of the ball. They do not make a lot of mistakes. They just wait for you to make mistakes. They have one guy in Bolo who's pretty fast up top, and then other than that, they like to just play pretty much diagonally across or in linear side to side. They're not a very attacking team. But they went ahead and got an early goal in the 12th minute, which then, of course, allows that team to really play how they want to, and then snuck another one in the 45th minute right before half. I'm sorry. And that really allowed them to just sit back, and they didn't score again until the 93rd minute, where they were just chilling and got a counter late and hit it up to Mbolo, as I was saying. So sorry for Hungary, but again, it's, just not enough. Swiss is still one of those teams that's vying for cusp of top European talent. Next, we had one of the better, or on paper seemed like one of the better matchups, Spain versus Croatia. As we all know, Spain is very, very good. They're one of the top teams in terms of truly cycling in and out of generational football. So, like, they'll have a generation that they rock with for, a set amount of time, and they're very, very good at moving on to the next. And they seem to always time it right. And there's always tons of them to choose from. And Croatia is kind of in the opposite position, where they've had actually a lot of top tier talent, but a lot of that top tier talent is starting to kind of run out of juice here. Luka Modric could go forever, but he's no longer what he used to be. Kramovich, there's a lot of these guys who they're good, but they're no longer even at the height of their powers, which that's what it takes. Perisic, all these guys. And, Perisic was off the bench. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. They are a team that usually does bounce back. They have Gavardiol, who's a really, really good defender back there. They have a bunch of talent. Perisic is going to be, I think, a big part at some point as well. But, they're just not the same team that we saw in the last Euros. When they advanced, all the way
to the final,
to the final, and then also, and even in the last World Cup, when they made a very good run again. So they're a good bounce back team, but I wasn't expecting 3-0. And again, on Spain's side, you had Morata scoring in the 29th very quickly, Fabian Ruiz in the 32nd with another pretty nice goal, and then you had Dani Carvalho from the assist of the tournament so far. Lamine Yamal, my boy from Barcelona, the youngest to start a game in the Euros at 16 years old. Shout out to the dog. He's a beast. He had to bring his homework, to the tournament. So think about that. My boy is an absolute beast. Barcelona knows how to bring him up.
Check out Barca in 10 years.
Check him out. No. Check him out now. He's starting right now. You dig what I'm saying? You know what it is. Barca's ready. We got a lot. This is how we always build out. I'm going to talk about that at the preview in terms of how it's going to look with us attacking Real Madrid as things move forward. And the other top teams in our league, no doubt. But obviously, Real and Barca are the top two that always go head-to-head. Next, we have Italy versus Albania, which this is another one of those teams that just always finds a way to underperform in terms of Italy. They gave up a first-minute goal on an absolute blunder in the back. Just silly mistake. They gave up just a touch in there. And, they did recover in the 11th minute scoring, and then in the 16th minute scoring again. You had Bastoni, one of their defenders, getting on the end of a header, and then you had Barella scoring a nice one in the 16th, but silence from there. And really, they leave a lot to be, wanted when you watch them in terms of they have talent, they can play, but they sure like to just kind of take whatever the other team's giving them, and if they're taking the lead, they're similar to some of these other slower paced teams who will just park the bus.
Oh, tell me about it. I know a team just like that.
Yeah, for sure, which we'll get to. So next the next day, we have another 3 games. We have Netherlands, Poland. This is 2-1. Poland is very top heavy in terms of they have Lewandowski. They have a couple attacking figures.
Did he even play?
I don't think I'm not sure.
Was he hurt or something? I feel like I watched that one and he was on the bench.
Oh, that's I wouldn't be surprised.
Like shirt.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I was surprised.
Yeah. Well, it was a long season for my boy at the end, so I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't open up with him. But yeah, let me just double check that.
He's gonna play. That's the boy.
Yeah, exactly. He was he was on the bench, so he was ready to play. I guess he's just not being subbed in at this point due to fatigue from the season. So Netherlands, you had, this is one of the dark horses in the tournament. They have a good team, in terms of, again, this is one of those well-coached teams that loves the style that they play when they play it right. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be questionable up top, but finally they have these middies and wingers that they kind of like to play with that make them tough to deal with. And we'll see if Depay can have, the kind of tournament that he wants to. Also pay attention to Cody Gakpo, who scored in the 29th minute. And then you had Wout Weghorst,
there it is,
who came in for Depay actually and ended up scoring in the 83rd minute. This guy, he used to be Man U, Wolfsburg, a bunch of these teams, big, tall, header kind of poacher striker who, somehow does show up in a lot of these tournaments. So they squeezed by 2-1 to the Lewandowski-less Poland.
You see Memphis with that dirty headband?
I did not see it. Yeah, no, I didn't see it. Yeah, that's disgusting. If he was out there with a headband, is this in the game or is
in game?
It's disgusting.
What was headband ready?
Yeah, I've never seen that.
That was gross.
It was nasty. Yeah, that's disgusting. Next, we have Slovenia and Denmark, which this one was really hard fought but kind of boring. We had Christian Eriksen, who scored a very heartfelt goal in the 17th minute. For those who remember, he had cardiac arrest at a tournament, the last one with Denmark, which was pretty horrifying. Everybody thought it was going to be the end of his career. To see him make a comeback is wonderful, and then to see him score in the biggest tournament possible for them other than the World Cup. That's about as good as you can get, considering he had, one of the worst injuries you can have at a time that I feel like, he probably looks at it and is like, wow, I'm never going to get that. Right. That's a World Cup. Like,
I stopped thinking about soccer completely.
Like, that's insane. Yeah, like, I don't even, insane. And then, Slovenia got one from Janza, who got one in the 77th minute, to equalize. Both of these teams really, at the end of the day, are kind of back heavy, which is very interesting. Denmark has some good middies. They're not very good up top. Poulsen's probably their best option up top. And then Slovenia, they have a really good goalkeeper. My boy Oblak.
Oblak.
You know what I mean? Oblak. And then they got some other good guys out there, who can play serviceable ball. You know what I mean? No doubt about it. So next we jump over to Serbia and England, which again, this is another team that's known to underperform. They made a decent run in the World Cup last time, and they made a decent run in the Euros, the whole bring it home thing. But notoriously, they've underperformed, and they have a lot of talent this year. It's a golden generation for them. Got a lot of awesome players. Luckily, they got an early goal from Jude Bellingham, who just cannot stop scoring. But everything else just pretty much played exactly what you would think in terms of somebody who's going to be very pessimistic about England during this whole tournament. Just they don't look like they like each other. You know what I mean? And for all that talent, it's like they really all look better on their club teams. And that's wild when it's like not one of you guys truly looks like an England performer. You got all I see is you in these individual jerseys. Like I'm like, oh, there goes the Man City guy, there goes the Arsenal guy, there goes the right. So
another team like that.
They got a lot that leaves concern in the mind of England fans. A 1-0 victory is not good enough, but getting a victory is with the 3 points. So we'll see. But they got some big matches coming up. Romania the next day, with, in my opinion, one of the bigger whoopings so far, where they stunned Ukraine for their first Euro win in 24 years.
Damn,
shocking. Ukraine doesn't have a lot of full-on superstars, but they do have a lot of European talent. And actually, Romania has a couple European talent, but not in comparison to Ukraine, and not in comparison to a lot of the teams in this tournament. So to see them
24 years, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. And to see we're talking about back with when they had icons and stuff back in the day. We're talking
talking about world wars were happening and shit.
Yeah, real talk, Hadji, nasty boys. But yeah, so that Ukraine, we'll see. I mean, I don't think that Romania is going to do a lot with this, but congrats to them, man. Anytime you get a win first in 24 years, we'll give you a little bit of that. And they jumped out to the 3-0. They got in the 29th minute, got a goal, and stuck to it in the second half. And you can't argue with that when you jump out on somebody right out of half and get two. And just, there's nothing you can do in a game like soccer, no matter what kind of talent you got. If you get hit like that, that's what you call a KO blow, my friend. So we're going to go to the next game, which is another stunner. We had Belgium losing to Slovakia. Yo.
Can't even blame the coach no more.
Yo, and so the whole situation is, this was one of the biggest debacles of the game that I've seen in a long time, where Jeremy Doku, who's amazing, youngster, he's like basically Raheem Sterling reincarnated, the Belgium Raheem Sterling, makes one of the worst plays I've ever seen from a winger in terms of, it's so early in the game that all I can think is he must have been half asleep. That's all I can think of.
What happened?
So he's in the corner and he's chasing the ball down. So he's in a defensive position as a winger. He gets over the ball and basically obtains possession of the ball. And he does like a flick back pass, like on some slick Rick shit. Like he really thought he was him. Does like a flick back, like he was going to hit it to the defender. So then the defender can be all smooth with it and has it, make a nice switch, and then they're out of this, right? But instead, he fucking does a straight, which, mind you, passing across the goal mouth is just crazy in general. It's something you're really not.
Isn't that one of the first rules in defense?
You're definitely not taught to do that. But as a winger, those are like some of the, this is messed up to say, but those are some of the dumbest guys out there, the wingers. You know what I mean? They're fast, athletic, but in terms of like, hey, not always all there. So this was another blunder in that type of, sentiment there, where, hey, he tried to just get way too cheeky with it in a position where he had no business doing that. It ends up being a perfect ball for the opposing side. And, I will say Slovakia made the most of it, where like bro ran up and then he flicked it back. The Slovakian player ran up, flicked it back, because he still had a fair amount to do with it. Flicked it back to his homie behind him, who then whips a shot around them into the corner pocket. So they both had a lot to do still, but they did it, right? And it all starts with Doku just saying, I don't want this. This ball means nothing to me.
This boy threw the Steph Curry behind the back. We're down by 5 with 2 minutes left.
and for those who don't know what I mean, just look up the highlight of him after, and it'll explain everything. He had nothing to say. He was literally going like, and he couldn't look anybody in the eyes, So you could tell he was mulling over how that looked in slow motion on the big screen. And you had 2 Lukaku goals called back on VAR. And I'm talking about by a shoulder. I'm talking about, yes, they were offsides. Yeah, that's how the game goes. But I promise you, both of those goals without VAR would have counted.
Am I tripping, or am I hearing that in soccer they're going to start like trying to change that a little bit in terms of like if it has to be like a little bit more space, like they're allowing a little bit to be ahead?
No, I mean not from what I've heard. And in my opinion, it's gotten even more rigid, where it's like with the new technology, they're doing like, his chin, was over the line because of how he was running forward.
If anybody has heard about that in chat, let us
know. If I'm wrong,
I don't know. Maybe I was just hearing some fake news. But.
And I'll look it up a little bit too. So, drop it in the chat if you know. And if it's a beautiful link, put it there too, because I'll just click on that and get the money from there. But from what I know, that's not the case. And from what we've seen, obviously, in this tournament, that's clearly not the case. And sadly, Lukaku just had the saddest look on his face ever, because both times it looked like he had rescued his team from, what has really been an entire golden generation of failure. Yeah. And so they really need this tournament more than anything. And Kevin De Bruyne was just like, I want to go back to Man City right now. And their manager is beefing with Courtois, who's arguably the best goalie in the world right now. And he won't start him. So they're starting this dude he's cool. He still plays in Europe, but he's dookie compared to him. Next, we have France versus Austria. Austria was without their star Alaba anyway. But, this France, again, is probably the top team here. You know what I mean? They're winners of just about everything that you can think of with this generation. And their generation seems to just be getting stronger because they're all still very young. But this game was definitely an underperformance to say the least. They didn't even really look all there yet. This team did feel like, they are not the same team as they were in these last couple tournaments. So they're trying to feel it out. They've lost some key figures like Pogba, some of these guys who have really been there for a long time. Giroud.
Where's Benzie?
Benzie's been gone for a minute, but Benzie's been beefing with the whole federation, and there's been an issue for
long time.
And there's been a whole issue going back to even Zidane.
I thought they said they were going to bring him this time.
With some of these Algerians, right? So there's always been like Sami Nasri, like there's always been beef with all the dudes that are like part
Algerian. Ben Hader or whatever. What was his name? Ben Yedder?
Ben Yedder, yeah, all the guys. Yeah. So they've just always been, you got to really earn it. And like a lot of those guys are like, I'm cool. So,
they didn't even really score it was an own goal, right?
Yeah. Well, it was. They were forcing their way into it, but it was definitely an own goal. It was definitely an own goal. And it wasn't even like I said, like it wasn't a game where there was anything really to look at other than Mbappe broke his nose. So if you like that kind of stuff, his nose was like legit.
My man looking even more like a Ninja Turtle.
His nose was crazy though. Like, and he did it on somebody's show. It was wild. Like this dude Dansu, who's like this kind of buff defender. He really smacked the shoulder right into his nose, and his whole thing was over here. They had, lighter jerseys on, so it was just blood everywhere. But yeah, it wasn't a great game, and so we'll see how they bounce back. But I think Mbappe is going to miss the next game and possibly the next one after that. He just had surgery. But like for those who know about breaking your nose, like you're breathing. It takes a while to get that back. And like he's going to be struggling with sleeping. He's going to be struggling with a lot of things. So we'll see if he's able to just jump right back into it. Then, on this most recent day, which is today, we had Turkey getting a nice little 3-1 over Georgia. Turkey's got, a youngster by the name of Güler, who is a Real Madrid as well. We tried to get him, Barca, but we're broke boys right now. It's cool. But Güler is a baller. He had probably at this point one of the top nominations for goal with a superb long range strike. And then they just overpowered Georgia, who's really only has one guy, who is my main man, Big K. I'm not even gonna kill his name either, but from Napoli, who I think he'll be moving on too. But it's like, Curtis Vila or something like that. I don't want to kill it, but I think I'm in the range. Chris Vila, I think, is that something like that. Or Krishna or something like that. We right there. Anyway. And then the next game, so that's 3-1 for Turkey. And the next game, and the last one, the most recent one, is Portugal versus Czechia, or Czech Republic, as some knew them in the past. And this was an ugly game, man. Like, this was nasty. A lot of debate on whether Ronaldo should be scoring. I think regardless, we should all be thankful that we get another tournament of Ronaldo and Messi right now. If you grew up in the last 20 years or anything, in the last 40 years, really, of these guys, and they've been, an honor to watch. So to get one more tournament, a lot of your stars don't last this long. They might come to the tournament, but to really see them play, be out on the field. My
boy Pep.
Yeah, I think right now, sadly for Portugal, I know it's your squad, my man's squad. I think it speaks more to the lack of strikers that they have. And Ronaldo had 51 goals or 50 goals in 51 Saudi Arabian games this year, which Saudi Arabian League is going to allow him to score. But nonetheless, that's confidence. Everybody knows he knows how to score still, even at his age of 39. And so, I think if they did have a valuable striker that they truly trusted, they wouldn't be starting him like that. But I just don't think Ramos Goncalo has proved himself enough yet. And so
they like bringing Jota off the bench.
Yeah, I think that's stupid. I think that Jota could be a winger, but I think that they do not have enough confidence in the scoring of this team. And so they need him to come off the bench because he's the second best scorer, which to me is why I would rather have him out there. But when you look at the way you guys don't play a lot of people because of the positional overlap, like it's always the same story with Portugal where like these dudes are just not going to play. Again, we're going to watch another tournament where like we're going to see a couple of these random dudes, from Portugal you know what I mean, who are getting burned, who will know for this tournament and not again, you know, and we're not going to see Joao Felix. We're not going to get to see, you know, some of these brilliant wingers who, you know, are behind players who do deserve it, but it's like, can we CM him for a minute? Like, we're not going to see Renato Sanchez get a shot. So it's just sad that the way they chose this team is like just not how I would have picked it. But they do this a lot. Like the style that they like to pick is very, very
boring.
It's tough. They love CDMs. They're in love with that position. Holding midfielders is like their dream. And to see them play Joao Cancelo at winger was just like, you know, I think he can definitely play there. But again, for me, it's just, I'm just like, all right, dude, like, I hate their coach, Roberto Martinez.
They just play so slow, and I don't understand why they play so slow.
It was nasty. And the goal that Chechnya scored was a banger.
Yeah, it was wrong.
Was a banger. And then an own goal tied it up, you know, which was a tough own goal because it was on a save, which I don't know what the defender was doing.
Where was he going?
I have no idea what that defender was doing. And the guy saves it, and the defender's running at the goalie and, you know, goes off his knee back into the goal, you know, and then, you know, they get a late one, you know, to save it in true Portuguese fashion. But, you know, I think they're another front runner. I thought Leao played like dog shit today.
They were crowding him. I felt like we were really crowding him. We had like 4 other players like in his area when it's like he's a one-on-one guy. You gotta leave that dude alone, bro. Like,
whatever it is, he always looks way worse on Portugal than he does on AC Milan. And it's like they don't play a standard trident on Portugal. And so they just need to figure out how to make – if you're going to put these guys in, put them where they're supposed to be. Like, you know, allow them to really be what they're supposed to be. The only guy who I thought looked super comfortable today was Bruno. I thought Bruno looked good. But, yeah, so that's the pretty much the – I mean, Pepe back there at 41 is insane. We'll see how long he lasts. 41 as center back is crazy. Somebody's going to toast that, put him in the ER. But that's that. Now we're going to get on to the following games coming up. Once I get to those will all be considered game 2 in terms of the overall groupings. So everything I just went through was the game 1s for the Euros. So we'll see, man. You know, a couple big upsets. Nothing really so far will dictate how many people leave. And to be clear, there are certain groups that will have 3 teams who advance. So when you see some of these lesser teams playing with real strategies in terms of how to manipulate the score, how to, you know, go for certain points,
park the bus,
just understand that it's because there's now a wider range of teams that advance. There are more teams who are advancing. So there are 3rd place potential teams who are looking at that, trying to earn that 3rd place spot. One of the bigger games that we have coming up, though, just so that you guys understand, is we got Spain, Italy on Thursday. So please, at noon, that's prime time for these games. It's 6 a.m., 9 a.m., and then noon, you got noon, Spain, Italy. Please check that out. And I'll make sure that we double back on this, you know, as the tournaments keep going. And when Copa America starts, I'll be right there for that as well. So the last thing that we're going to touch on, because I know we're running out of time today, is I just want to make sure that we give a little NHL shout out, you know, because they are in the final, and we want to make sure if things at least get to the final that we give you a little shout out. Edmonton is actually up 4-3 in this game, which is right now, this is game 5. But the Panthers, Florida Panthers, that is, are up overall 3-1 in the series. So they could have won it tonight. It looks like they are coming back because they were down 3-0, but it looks like, you know, Edmonton might stretch this to another game. We might get a game 6 out of that. But I just wanted to make sure you guys all know. If you guys are hockey fans out there, let me know. I know our San Jose Sharks just got the first pick. So, man, drop some love, man. If you know the homie who we're supposed to draft, I've heard great things about him. Or if you got any other guys who you love, man, just put them down there. We'd love to see it, man, because, you know, we kind of green to that stuff. So another week in the books. We love it. You know, I appreciate everything from the Hot Corner. And we'll see y'all next week. You know the deal.
All right.